Hi, Veronica. I'm going to start this problem off not even paying attention to the requirements that you're given. I'm just going to use like a sample problem, and then I'll kind of see how it can apply to yours. And then what I want you to do is um, fill this in, show me your work, and I'll let you know if it's correct or not. So a linear function will always graph a line, and the equation to a linear function is that slope-intercept form that we see as y equals mx plus b, where m is the slope and b is the y-intercept. So right now, I'm just going to pick some points just as an example here. I want to say my slope, let's let it equal maybe 1/4. So this is going to be a positive slope, so our line is going to go uphill left to right. And let's say I want to pick a y-intercept. Now I know on your assignment the y-intercept has to be between 5 and -5. Let's say it had to be between -3 and 3, or we could even go larger here, expand a little more. Let's say it had to be between -7 and 7. So I'm just going to pick a y-intercept of -7. So right here, my y-intercept is going down on my y-axis. This is our y-axis, our x-axis. So I'm going to go right down here to -7. And then I'm going to use this slope. So it's almost like we come up with the equation first, or the line first, the slope and the y-intercept first, and then we'll fill in the box. I know with so many different exercises and examples, they want you thinking about these things in a completely reverse way than what can make it easiest. All right, so from this y-intercept of -7, my slope is 1/4, so this means I'm going to count up one block and then 4 to the right and make a new point. So count up 1, 4 to the right, and I'm going to repeat this a few times. So I'm going to go up one more, 4 to the right, and then I can even go down 1 and 4 to the left a few times. You only need 4 points, but I'm going to plot a few more. So down 1 and then 4 to the left here. So now I'm going to go ahead and connect the dots. Right here. So from this, I have this ordered pair right here looks to be -8, -9. So now I'm going to go ahead and fill in my x value is -8, and then my y value is -9. So this is the point, -8, -9. My next point looks like I'm at -4, -8. Right here in the middle is 0, -7. My next point looks to be 4, -6. And then my last ordered pair here is at 8 and -5. So as I fill these in, another ordered pair I'm going to write, so this would be like in your second box, -4, -8, 0, 7, -7 it should have been, 4, -6, and 8, -5. Now from this table we can check that everything sort of matches here. So all my x's should be changing the same way. So if we went from -8 to -4, we're increasing by 4. -4 to 0, we're increasing by 4. 0 to 4, we're increasing by 4. 4 to 8, we're increasing by 4. So for this to be linear, all of our x's need to be changing the same way, and they are. For our y's, they don't have to be increasing by a 4, but they have to be changing the same way every time. So to go from -9 to -8, we're increasing by 1. -8 to -7, we're increasing by 1. -7 to -6, we're increasing by 1. And -6 to -5, again, we're increasing by 1. So this ties in with our slope, because remember, slope is the change in y's over change in x's. So our change in y's are a 1, our change in our x's are a 4. So this matches here. And then our y-intercept, now there's a little hint in your assignment to exclude the 0. So hint here would be exclude the y-intercept. So in my case, I would have these 4 boxes here, but my y-intercept had to be what I chose between -7 and 7. So then our equation, because I chose for me to make this problem work out the best, I chose my slope and my y-intercept first, which is completely allowable. So we're going to get y equals 1/4 x and then -7. So that's that slope intercept form here. So here's the equation. Now, another way we could have done this was we could have used the table first and then led to the other way, but we still had to follow the stipulation here in the problem. So let me just go over another example. If we were to make the table first, so let's say, and I'm just going to pick some positive numbers just to make it easier. Let's say I went a 2 and I kept adding 3 each time. So we would have a 2, a 5, an 8, and an 11. Now I know on your problem you have to stay between -10 and 10. But let's say my y's, I wanted to change by 3. So let's say I started with a 4, and then I went to a 7, and then a 10, and a 13. So now I pick the points first. My slope, so again, all of these are +3, +3, +3. These also happen to be +3, +3, +3. So my slope is 3 over 3, which really simplifies to a 1. What I could do next is plot these points on a graph. So just going here, I've got 2, 4. Since my slope is 1, I can just say, here's my, even though I don't have the values written out here, I'll just plot the points that I did have. It'll be a little bit easier. So then I have a 5, 7. So that's up here. I have an 8, 10. Then I'm actually going off the paper a little more, but we could work backwards to find our y-intercept. Now, even though I'm going up 3 over 3, notice how I started to almost ignore that, and I just kept going up 1 over 1. So I can continue this pattern, and then right here is my y-intercept. So even if I went down 3 and over 3 more, I probably might not see the y-intercept because the slope simplified. I have a 1 that's right here. So I know my slope is 1, my y-intercept is 2. So this allows me to write the equation in slope-intercept form. So y is going to equal a 1x, or just an x, and then plus 2. So there's my equation. So you could start filling out the table and pick some negative numbers if you'd like. Like I said, try this on a separate sheet of paper before you fill this in. Send me a picture of it and I'll check it over, see if it's correct. So you want to just pick x values that all change the same way. They could even decrease as well. Let me just do one more example where they could decrease, and I'll pick some negative numbers. So let's say maybe I start with a 1 and I want to decrease by 2 each time. So I'm going to go to -1, a -3, and a -5. So all of these are decreasing by 2. But let's say my y values might be increasing maybe by 5. Let's say I have a 0, a 5, a 10, and a 15. So all of these are increasing by 5. So again, I'm going to go ahead and graph these. I'm not going to be able to fit the last point on there. So I have a 1, 0, a -1, 5, a -3, 10, and I would have a -5, 15. So here I actually have a line that's going downhill left to right, so my slope is going to be negative. So in this case, my slope is a negative. We're going to take our y values and put it over our x values. So it's a 5 over a -2 or a -5 halves. So that's my slope. My y-intercept is a little tougher to figure out here. We could come up with an equation and pick a y value. So this is also the trick, which is why I say if you were to pick a y-intercept first, that'll be easier, because sometimes if you just pick random points, that y-intercept is going to be a lot tougher. But I'll show you how you could figure out the y-intercept now. We're just going to pick a point. I'm going to pick 1, 0, and I'm going to use slope-intercept form. I'm going to substitute in the ordered pair into x and y, and then I have my slope I'm going to substitute in here. So if I'm using the point 1, 0, 0 is going to go in for y, -5 halves is going to go in for m, and my x is going to be a 1. And this b is the y-intercept, so I'm going to solve for it. So I'm going to get 0 equals -5 halves times 1 is -5 halves plus b, and all I have to do is add 5 halves to each side. So I'm going to get a 5 halves is equal to b. So my y-intercept, and it kind of looks like it's 2.5. That's what 5 halves is. So this would be the ordered pair of 0, 5 halves. So now I could write my equation at y equals negative 5 halves x and then plus 5 halves. So let me just take another look at the problem here. So we have to write the equation of the line. Again, that meets the following requirements, and then the line has a y-intercept between 5 and negative 5. So again, a couple ways to start this. I would feel the easiest way is to pick a value for m, pick a value for your y-intercept, so you have your slope and your y-intercept, just like I did in the first example. Plot those points first, then fill in your table, make sure all the requirements are met. So look this over. Once you have, send a picture of your work. Like I said, do this on a separate sheet of paper. Send it to me and I'll let you know how that looks.